What's up everybody? Today we're going to be talking about ways you can get lo-fi type sounds inside Ableton Live. There's all kinds of third-party pedals and plugins, VSTs, but let's focus on things that you already have access to inside your browser. So here's my 5 tips. Let's get going. Number 1 is what I call the Warble. So let's check it out. Here's this guitar clip unwarped. Sounds like this. Okay, so it's pretty clean. It's got a little bit of a phaser effect on it, but it's not really lo-fi yet. So let me hit the warp. And so I recorded this at 70 BPM. So if I'm warping at 70, which is what my BPM is right now in the DAW, we're not going to hear any difference. Sounds the same. But if we keep it on this beats mode right here, and we change either our transposition knob or our BPM, we get what I call the warble. So check this out. Let me go down a few. Hear this little flickering kind of stutter sound? So what if I pitch it up higher? Versus if I was in complex mode, it'd be more smoothed out and less lo-fi. So that's using the transpose knob to get the warble. Let's, in this instance, use a difference in BPM. So how about I move our BPM up to 80, but we're gonna stay in the same key. And if I change these transient speeds, that will affect how fast the warble happens. Slower at 8s, or real fast at 30 seconds. Cool. A lot of times I keep it around the 8th or 16th, depending. But the further away you get from the original BPM, the more obvious it is. All right, so that is the warble. Moving on to the chop next. Okay, number 2 is what I call the chop and LFO. So let's look at this on track 2 here. I have 11 slices down here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I'm gonna take pad slicing off so I don't unintentionally create any new slices. Okay. So if we look down here inside Simpler, this is the same guitar file as in track 1 that we just discussed for point number 1. And you can see that I'm warped into complex mode. So it will be a little bit smoother with any transposition changes or speed changes because I'm in complex mode. But what I can do is go over to controls, and this LFO wave will affect, if I choose to, pitch, volume, panning, or filter. So right now I want to affect pitch. So let me do it really extremely so you can hear what I'm going for. That's a little crazy, too much, right? But if I put it at, say, 5%, even a little too much there. That's kind of cool, right? So basically, let's review. We're using slice mode manually, and I'm creating chops. And then in the controls tab, I'm using the LFO to create wow and flutter, which is pitch fluctuations. And I can affect the speed of that right here too. So mess with that. You can also use it to create tremolo effects with volume or panning effects or even filtering effects through there. Okay, so my fixed length on my push is 4 measures. So let's record a clip. Here we go. piano. This is what I just recorded with my chops. And here's how it looks in Simpler. Cool, so that is number 2, chop and LFO inside the Simpler instrument. Okay, number 3, creating wow and flutter with the frequency shifter. So here's our piano part, just in a little audio clip. It's pretty clean. Okay, but if we go here and we turn on our frequency shifter, there's 2 ways we can do it. One, we can just increase our LFO amount and we instantly start hearing a change. Turn our rate down. It's a little too much. So I personally like a slow rate and a tiny amount, and it gives us just a really nice sheen of wow and flutter, which is an old tape effect that used to happen in the analog days, which at the end result we hear small shifts in pitch. Now what we could also do is we can mess with this fine tuning knob. Right? So what you could do is potentially map that to a MIDI controller or just automate it inside the clip, or you could grab the LFO tool from Max for Live and drag that in here. So if you have Suite, you will have this. I'm going to map it to the fine knob. And so look, that's a little extreme right there. So we're gonna reduce the rate and we're gonna reduce the depth. And it will sound like this. So you can mess with the depth, the rate, and the offset. So it's about taste. All right, so together our chop and that piano with the wow and flutter sounds like this. All right, that's number 3, which is wow and flutter. Okay, so number 4 is Foley, which is basically found sounds or sound effects, anything from a river to sounds on a street corner, dolphins, anything you can think of. The thing that Foley really brings to the table in beat-based music is it provides an element of randomization, because so much of beat music can end up being loops. For example, this. This is just loops. If we play it for long enough, we'll keep hearing the same thing over and over again. But we add Foley to it. Here's my Foley. So this is an 8-bar loop, but it's rhythmically random. I could even choose to reverse this, change my pitch. That might be a little bit too much. Let me put it up here. And then one of the classic Foley things to do is sidechain it to your kick so that it's random, but it also rhythmically reacts to your beat. So it's getting out of the way of my kick. One other thing you can do with Foley is add an auto pan to it. It's going to be moving around in the stereo field. This is way too fast. We'll move it slower. All right, so now it's going from left to right over a measure or two. Great, so that's number 4, Foley. Okay, last but not least, creating a bass line from your sampled material. So allow me to demonstrate here. We've got our initial guitar that we spoke of. Okay, so I'm going to select it, Command D, I'm going to duplicate it, or Control D if you're on a PC. Now let's solo that up. All right, let's put it into complex mode, and now we're going to pitch it down an octave. And then we're going to grab an EQ8, and we're going to, let's set up an EQ curve like this at 120, and let's hear how it sounds. So it's functioning as the sub or sub bass of our sample. So we can just roll off below, say, 30 Hertz on the bottom. Okay, so I've also set up a sidechain compressor to our kick drum so it gets out of the way of the kick. Turn up the gain a little bit. The whole point is that, let me solo this together with our sample. Now we've got a bass line that fits exactly with our sample. So let's do that with our chop as well. So let me call this bass sample. Let's duplicate the chop. We'll call this chop bass. So now I go to here. We're already in complex mode. Transpose -12, and I could even grab both of these and do an Option click on the Mac. It just drags those settings over there, so it should sound pretty similar. Let me play that clip. Yeah, I might even, to help it sit in the mix a little bit better, I might grab this low extender, and it gives it a little bit more heat. All right, so back in. Let's put the Foley in. So now we got 2 sections here. Okay, so all together we have section 1. This is our Warbly sample with its bass line, and our wow and fluttered piano and Foley. And then our section 2 has the chop with its bass line and some wow and fluttered piano with some Foley as well. Great, thanks for watching. So we got number 1 is the Warble from Warping, 2 is Chop and LFO and the Simpler, 3 is Wow and Flutter from Frequency Shifter, 4 is Foley for randomization, and 5 is creating bass lines from your samples using filtering and transposition. Thanks for watching, see you next time.
Thanks for watching my dad's videos. His name's Derek and he makes music as Cloudchord, like his hat.
I'm also a guitarist and Ableton certified trainer. Every Tuesday I upload new videos, so if you learned something, be sure to
like and subscribe. And his hat is really cool.